Next speaker, which I'm also very happy to present and invite, is Tyrylytė from Nord Security, home to advanced cybersecurity and privacy solutions, including the world's best-known VPN service, NordVPN. And she will explain and she will shed light on the battle for our lives, the battle for personal privacy, governments, tech companies, and NGOs. So, Laura, many thanks for being with us, and the year is yours.
Okay, so thank you, and good day to everyone. As someone working in marketing today, I would like to share with you some numbers and, of course, to dig a bit deeper into an ongoing disagreement, I would say, between different parties in this, with different interests in mind. And as was mentioned, Nord Security, the company I'm working for, creates one of the best known privacy tools in the world. And we noticed that in the past 10 years, users are expressing greater and greater need for privacy, which these days is often as well associated with cybersecurity. And I guess the following slides and numbers will explain why. Yep. Why? Yeah, I managed to switch the slide. Sorry for confusion, but according to the latest information, there are almost 5 billion people who have access to the internet at the moment. That's more than half of the world's population, and that means that we can definitely say that the internet is no longer a luxury, but everyday commodity. But the interesting fact here is that 92% of all those users access the internet not through the computer, but through their mobile devices. Explanation here is pretty simple. So first, cheap smartphones are easy to get even in the developing countries. And second, well, in the developed world, they kind of became an extension of our hand. However, this poses a bigger risk for user data and privacy because the specifics of a smartphone, for example, a smaller screen compared to a computer, prevent us from seeing, for example, if the website has HTTPS encryption, or even navigating through the cookies consent tab. Experts as well notice that on smartphones, people are more willing to download apps without actually checking the terms of service or privacy policy. And then, of course, there are rumors or even proven facts that the cheapest smartphones are created with built-in tracking technologies. And these smartphones often come from authoritarian countries known for mass surveillance. Okay. In fact, that the number of internet users is growing every year, but there's another important question, I would say. So, how much time do people actually spend online? This amount has dramatically increased during the pandemic, of course. Especially because of the doom scrolling. I'm not sure if you've ever heard this word before, but that's a new word that was named the word of the year of 2020 by the Oxford English Dictionary. And it shortly means compulsive scrolling through social media for negative news. So our own research here at Nord last year showed that in different countries, people stay online between 23 and 33 years per life. That's more or less a third of our lifetime. So this means actually that we spend 1/3 of our life sleeping, another third online, and then we're left with more or less 20, 30 years for everything else. And this is actually the main reason why the digital world has to be treated in the same way as the physical world. And I mean regulations, respect for digital human rights, and etc. And then the last slide with some numbers, perhaps, well, for me, these numbers are a bit shocking. So every day, all internet users create 2.5 quintillion bytes of data. To make some sense of this number, I will say that this is equivalent to 10 million Blu-ray discs, which, if stacked one on another, would be as tall as 2 Eiffel Towers combined. Then Google processes more than 40,000 searches per second. There are 350 million photos uploaded on Facebook every day. And finally, there are 990,000 Tinder swipes per minute. But what is really important to understand here, all this creates huge amounts of data, and all this data generally is about humans. And I guess all these numbers, the amount of the time we spend online and the amount of data we create while being there, proves that the boundary between physical and digital lives is fading fast. And this is actually great, but great only until we realize that our digital rights enjoy far fewer protections than our physical ones, because corporations, governments, and criminals are still largely free to take advantage of citizens on the online Wild West. We still lack regulations and simple respects for digital human rights. However, there are many initiatives trying to raise the bar. And I would like to share with you one of these initiatives, so Contract for the Web. This is an initiative that was started by the founder of the internet, Tim Berners-Lee. This initiative holds companies, governments, and citizens, including NGOs, accountable for better good of the digital world, and as well attempts to solve such issues as political manipulation, fake news, privacy violations, and other malicious forces of the internet. In general, there are 9 principles, 3 for each group. However, I would say that we can distinguish 3 major ones. So that would be the respect of people's privacy and data rights, then keeping the internet open and affordable, and then developing technologies that embrace the best of humanity. I'm super proud that NordVPN was one of the first companies to back the contract for the web. Because it aligns well with our values, but as well because we strongly believe that future internet regulations must be based on these core principles. But there's always a but. Creating safe, but at the same time prosperous digital world is more often a moral challenge than a logical decision. Let me tell you why. Trolley problem. This is trolley problem is a thought experiment in ethics, and it mainly describes a fictional scenario where people have to choose whether to sacrifice one young person or, for example, 5 elderly people. This dilemma is often used to question the ethics of self-driving cars, but as well can be applied to other everyday issues and areas, including personal privacy online. But let's go into some examples. So governments, it's a fact that governmental institutions have aimed to fight crime, terrorists, avoid civic unrest, and etc. To achieve this goal, in October 2020, leaders from several countries, including US, UK, Japan, Australia, and some others, said that encryption of digital tools is an impediment to national security. I can understand them, but there's another side. Any weakening of encryption protocols or requirements to backdoor access, very usually this backdoor access is called encryption backdoors, would effectively undermine the security of civil society groups and businesses and ordinary users. So the moral dilemma here is, should we risk the security and privacy of all to fight the crimes that are done only by 1 or 2% of the world's population? So that's governments, but there's another player in the field, tech companies. They say that user data is inevitable to develop new products and save costs. For example, scientists and technology companies need massive amounts of data to teach AI. And getting this data is very difficult, especially in some regions and countries. For example, it is more difficult to do that in Europe than in China. So the AI development can be much quicker in countries and regions with a bit more loose regulations. But here we have another moral dilemma. Do we trust private companies with massive amounts of personal data, especially with the growing number of data breaches, leaks, and hacks? And finally, we have NGOs, especially working in the digital field. These NGOs are fighting for digital human rights and very high privacy standards. But then, are we ready to get that and sacrifice some of the potential potentially great technological achievements? These are very difficult questions and moral dilemmas with no easy answer, and the legal community will have a major role in answering them. And finally, my 2 last slides, very short ones, on what users actually want. As I mentioned before, we are creating the most popular VPN brand in the world. And at the moment, VPNs are the main tech tool that brings additional privacy for users. And here's an interesting fact. Numbers of researchers show that 80% of all users, when choosing a VPN, primarily do this because they are concerned about their privacy and security. And then there is another trend, proving that privacy is becoming more and more important. Google Trends show that since 2016, more often people are looking for a privacy-focused VPN than a security-focused antivirus. And to finish my today presentation, I would like to wish you all to stay safe, both online and offline. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, for being with us. Thank you for interesting insights. I have one provoking question to you. As far as privacy in the metaverse is concerned, where online society is going, obviously, to. And, well, my prediction is that in less than 20 years, our physical society will be completely changed by the online society, and all the threats we have on ground will exactly be, well, hopefully not worse, the same in online society. So what is your prediction as far as the privacy management is concerned? Would it be like the decentralized model based on the decentralized identity management and decentralized data control, or whether it will be more a centralized data protection, state or platform-owned data protection? What is your vision here?
Well, actually, they say that digital world just created new tools for old crimes, and everything just moved into digital. At the moment, it is very difficult to predict how metaverse will develop in the future. On the other hand, I would say that perhaps we will see multiple players in the metaverse, not a kind of single governing body, because there's a lot of groups of interests there who are looking into this space.
Yes, I would totally agree. And maybe you have some research or studies which would suggest how many minutes or how much of their time people are now spending on totally virtual or more or less alternative realities. Maybe you have some figures?
I don't know. I do not have such figures, but I would say that the numbers shouldn't be very high, especially if we're looking into the total population, because that's pretty new. Of course, younger generations, and in some particular countries, for example, Japan, usually they have a bigger traction to completely virtual wallets.
Laura, thank you once again. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.